Everyone has at times been nervous, more or less, without knowing why. I may shake this piece of cloth and say it is nervous, but what is making the cloth move? When I cease moving my hand, the cloth lies limp. You always blame other things for making you nervous, but never accuse yourself. Yet it is you who make yourself nervous. 99% of the time, it is your own doing. Restlessness, emotional excitement, concentrates too much energy in the nerves, so they begin to wear out. After years and years, the adverse effects of that nervousness begin to show. The nerves are very tough. God made them so because they have to last a lifetime, but they still need proper care. When you stop overloading the nervous system, as in deep sleep or a state of calmness in meditation, you are not nervous at all. In meditative ecstasy, the nerves become highly rested and rejuvenated. Nerves are like wires connecting all parts of a factory. If the wires become worn or burned out, the whole factory or certain areas of it cannot function. Similarly, the nervous system enlivens all parts of the body, including the perceptive, cognitive, and responsive functions of the five senses. If the nerves are destroyed, then our transaction with the world is also destroyed. There are two systems of nerves: the central nervous system in the brain, medulla, and spinal cord, and the peripheral system, which connects the nerve centers to different organs and carries energy to them. The nervous system sends sensations to the brain, enables the brain to process them, and then reacts upon the brain's interpretation of those stimuli. Most nervous diseases are due to overexcitation of the mind. These arise from many causes. Examine yourself to see if you are nervous, and then determine what is making you nervous. When you get mad, for instance, you send tremendous volts of energy into the brain and heart. Emotions such as anger and fear can so overload the nerves that they cause the body to malfunction, sometimes even stopping the heart and causing death. Excitement means you are directing too much energy to a certain area, depriving other nerves of that life force. On the contrary, the calm person keeps their nerves well fed with a balanced flow of energy so that no part of the body is detrimentally overloaded or depleted. Nervousness is the disease of civilization. I remember when some of us were driving up Pikes Peak in Colorado. Other cars were speeding past us on the steep, winding grade. I thought they were hurrying to the mountaintop to see the sunrise. To my great amazement, when we arrived, we were the only ones outside to enjoy the view. All the others were in the restaurant drinking coffee and eating donuts. Imagine, they rushed to the top and then rushed back just for the thrill of saying they had been there and had coffee and donuts on Pikes Peak. That is what nervousness does. We should take time to enjoy the beauties of God's creation, the many blessings of life, and avoid undue excitement, restlessness, and sudden emotions that burn up the nervous system. Talking too much, including the habit of engaging in long conversations on the telephone, creates nervousness. Habitual twitching, such as drumming the fingers or moving the toes, burns energy in the nerves. Another cause of nervousness, though you may not be aware of it, is the noise of the radio or television going on for hours at a time. All sounds cause the nerves to react. A study conducted in the police department in Chicago showed that if human beings were not subjected to the bombardment of the sounds of modern living, especially in cities, they could live longer. Learn to enjoy silence. Don't listen to the radio or television for hours on end, or have them blaring mindlessly in the background all the time. There is enough television of saints and music of the spheres going on throughout the cosmos that you don't need to listen to canned music or watch canned pictures. Through the calmness of inner silence, learn to tune in to God's wondrous cosmic programs. Another major cause of nervousness is unkind speech. Never gossip or talk against others. Be busy reforming yourself. Practice kind speech. Don't be quarrelsome. If your husband or wife gets angry and rouses your ire, take a little walk and cool off before responding. If he or she speaks sharply, don't retort in the same way. It is better to remain quiet until the temper has cooled down. Avoid being stubborn or patronizing, but at the same time, refrain from involving yourself in a quarrel. Wait until both have regained calm reason. Never let anyone rob you of your peace, and do not steal away the peace of others by verbal misbehavior. The misuse of speech is one of the most injurious of all weapons. You may say something in anger or high emotion that you do not really mean and then feel sorry afterward, but for 20 years or longer, the other person remembers it. In this respect, memory is a bad thing. The power to remember is a blessing if used in the right way, but harmful if used as a repository of the bad things that have been done to us. If your wife screeches at you and you shout back, you will suffer twice as much, once from her harsh words and again from your own. You primarily harm yourself. By the time you get through, you will feel that there is nothing left of you. This is why there are so many divorces. Frankly, people should not marry until they have learned to control their emotions. The schools should educate young students in this art and in how to develop calmness and concentration. The American home is breaking up because these things are not taught, neither at home nor in schools. How can two people who are habituated to nervous activity live together without almost destroying each other with their nervousness? In the beginning of a marriage, the bride and groom are carried along on the emotions of excitement and passion. But after a while, when these inevitably start to wane, the true natures of the couple begin to emerge, and the quarreling and disillusionments set in. The heart requires true love, friendship, and above all, peace. When through emotion, peace is destroyed, it is a desecration of the bodily temple. A healthy nervous system is what will maintain in proper order all the bodily organs and feelings. And to keep the nervous system healthy, it is important to remain free from devastating emotions such as fear, anger, greed, and jealousy. Cast off fear. What is there to be afraid of? Even a little bit of fear, such as senseless apprehension of the dark or worrying about things that might happen, affects the nerves more than you can imagine. Why dread even death? God allows it to happen to everybody, so it cannot be bad. That is a very consoling thought to hold on to. Death is just like a refreshing sleep, and you are not afraid of sleep, are you? Death is complete rest. God gives you death to release you from all of your troubles here, and then to provide you with a fresh start in a new incarnation. To be caught up in fear, anger, greed, or any violent or impulsive emotion is to forget God. If your senses, which govern your emotions, are under your control, you are a saint. No one knows better than yourself whether you are a master of your senses or a slave to them. Remember, anything that overrules your self-control leads your nervous system to destruction. The greedy man eats, and the man of self-control eats. One eats for the well-being of his body, and the other overeats for sensual gratification. If one's love is concentrated more on God and less on the senses, then all sensory abuse will be overcome. When tempted, pray to the Lord, make thyself more tempting than temptation. No matter how you test me, Lord, I shall cling to you. When your nervous system is filled with peaceful, loving thoughts of God, your nerves become recharged with His power. Krishna said, when the feeling chitta is absolutely subjugated and is calmly established in the self, the soul, the yogi, thus devoid of attachment to all desires, is spoken of as the God united. Movie stars and other professional entertainers are considered the beautiful people of America. But why are their personal lives so often in a shambles of unhappiness and multiple divorces? Most of them live too much on nervous energy concentrated in the senses. Overeating, promiscuous sex, the intoxication of wine and drugs all produce a pseudo-happiness. In God alone, one finds fulfillment of all desires. In God alone, one finds ever-new joy, which can never be attained through the instrumentality of any of the senses. If you are in the grip of any abuse of the senses, and this means any one of them, continuously affirm your freedom. I am not enslaved by this habit. My love for God is supreme, greater than for anything else. Desire and attachment feed the disease of nervousness. By the time you have acquired the things you crave, you are worn out. Desireless non-attachment is freedom from the tyranny of enslavement to possessions. Everyone says how beautiful Encinitas is. I like it because on the altar of the horizon of the ocean and blue sky, I see God. When the hermitage was given to me, for 7 days I delighted in it. Then I gave it to God, inwardly freeing myself from all sense of possession. Now I enjoy it through the joy of others. All the things that India sadly lacked and that I had wished for her, I see you have here in America, but still you are not happy. Now I pray that India does not become too westernized. Both India and America express extremes. There needs to be balance. American civilization modified with the spirituality of India. Every nation wants the material advantages that America has, and the spiritual consciousness that every nation needs is found in India. I think that life in America is becoming more simplified, which is good. It takes too much time and energy to keep too many possessions in good order. The truth of the matter is that the more unnecessary necessities you have, the less peace you have, and the less you are possessed by possessions, the more happiness you have. The way to develop spiritually is to live simply, live quietly, study good books, never read cheap novels, practice calmness through control of the senses and emotions, and meditate much of the time. California, with its equable climate and natural endowments, is an ideal place to lead a simple life, and here will be a great spiritual resurgence. People shy away from the idea of renunciation, yet they renounce so many things of true value, not the least of which are peace of mind and even sometimes their very lives, for the sake of money, which is perishable. Wealth may be taken away from you, or you may be taken away from it by death. You cannot take it with you. The only value of money is to do good for the well-being and true happiness of self and others. Those who think only of their own security and comforts, forgetful of others in need, are courting poverty. It will be forced upon them sometime. Those who cling selfishly to their wealth instead of doing good with it do not attract prosperity in their next life. They are born poor, but with all the desires of the wealthy. But those who share their good fortune attract wealth and abundance wherever they go. Jesus spoke of this principle when he said, "Sell all that thou hast, and distribute unto the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven." If you learn to share with others, you will see that God is ever with you. He will never leave you, and you will never go without. Depend upon him, and he will look after you. Do not forget that your very life is directly sustained by the power of God. When you remember that your reason, will, and activity are dependent upon him, you will be guided by God, and you will realize that your life is one with his infinite life. He who is motivated by selfish desires neglects his assigned role in helping the drama of God's creation. He who lives only for himself, creating webs of desires, becomes entangled in those webs. But he who acts and works for God is free. You do not know why you are here on earth, or why you are a man or a woman, or why you are the way you are. You are not here merely to have your own way. You are here to do God's will. To work for yourself is to be bound by life. To work for God is to be free. Learn to be very active in this world, doing constructive work. But when you are through with your duties, turn off your nervous motor. Retire to the center of your being, which is calmness. Mentally affirm to yourself, I am calm. I am not a mere nervous mechanism. I am spirit. Though I dwell in this body, I am untouched by it. If you have a calm nervous system, you will have success in everything you undertake, and above all, you will succeed with God. The nervous system has two duties. The nerves allow you to interact with the world, and, as the yogis of ancient times discovered, the nerves also serve to connect you with God. The life force in man's body ordinarily flows outward from the brain and spine through the nerves to the senses and their external experiences. When in yoga meditation that energy is reversed to flow inward, it draws the consciousness to the subtle spiritual cerebrospinal centers of divine perception and God realization. Nervousness, the overstimulation of the nerves, ties the consciousness to the body. Calmness conduces to God communion. When you turn off external nervous energy and calm yourself in meditation, and the life force retires from the senses to the cerebrospinal centers of spiritual perception, your nervous system is then connected with superconsciousness, and you have God. You are in the land of light, which is beyond the subconscious realm of sleep. Sleep is an unconscious way of turning off life energy from the nerves. You therefore get some rest during slumber, but you do not have the conscious experience of bliss that the superconscious state produces. When you awaken from sleep, you are just the same as you were before sleep. But if you can cross the subconscious realm into the superconscious land of light, you will have the most wonderful experiences, and these produce lasting spiritual changes in the consciousness. The more you can remain in that interiorized state of bliss in meditation, the more you will feel that joy with you all the time, even in the midst of activities. There is a spiritual physiology underlying the nervous system that makes man a unique vehicle for the highest stages of the evolution of consciousness. Man's brain, being larger than that of most animals, with the exception of the elephant and the whale, and being more complex, contains the greatest capacity for thought. This makes the human brain a proper instrument for man, whose consciousness is the most highly evolved of all creatures. Man alone is capable of advanced levels of discrimination and ultimately of God realization. The greater the amount of thought, for example, in man as contrasted with animals, the greater the complexity of the cerebral convolutions. The fissures of these convolutions are about 1 inch deep in the adult brain. The gray matter of the convoluted surface of the brain is where our sensory motor thought processes are lodged. In early stages of the developing fetus, the brain is more like a marble dome. The awareness and responses of the fetus increase with the developing complexity of the convolutions. The mind, the source of thought and discrimination, is a process of consciousness, not physiology. It triggers the physiology. The gray matter on the surface of the brain is the receptacle of nerve impulses. This is where all the nerve cells and electrical vibrations are located. When you decide to move any part of your body, your hands, fingers, or eyes, for example, this creates electrical impulses in the cells of the gray matter, which are transmitted through the motor nerves to the body part that you want to move. As that part moves, another electrical current is sent back to the brain via the sensory nerves. These electrical impulses stimulate the nerve cells in the gray matter, and more energy-giving oxygen is drawn from the blood vessels in the membrane surrounding the brain. An exercise that is very good to stimulate the energy in the brain is to rap the head gently but firmly with the knuckles. This is especially helpful if done in the morning as you begin your day or anytime you feel brain lag. Underlying the gray matter in the brain is white matter, which is spoken of as passive. The construction of the brain has a correspondence with the single or spiritual eye in man. In fact, this eye of astral light, which can be seen in meditation, is an epitome of the creative energy and consciousness of which man's body is formed and by which it is enlivened. Jesus said, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." The spiritual eye is perceived as a golden aura surrounding a sphere of blue, in the middle of which is a 5-pointed star of white light. When you look in a mirror at your two eyes, you see they are patterned after the spiritual eye, the outer aura, or white of the eye, the inner circle, or iris, and the central star, or pupil. The point of origin of the single eye is in a subtle spiritual center in the medulla oblongata, at the base of the brain where it joins the spine. The energy from this single eye divides at the medulla and pours through the brain into the two physical eyes, through which the world of duality is perceived. The spiritual eye, with its 3 lights, or 3 different rays, one within the other like an extending telescopic lens, has all-seeing spherical vision. Through the gold ray, the deeply meditating yogi beholds all matter and the mass of radiation, the vibratory cosmic energy permeating the universe. Penetrating the blue light, the yogi will realize the Christ or Krishna consciousness, the Kutastha or infinite intelligence of God, the only begotten Son or reflection of God, which is present in all creation. Piercing the tiny 5-pointed white star, the yogi experiences cosmic consciousness, the transcendent consciousness of God that underlies all creation and that is also beyond the realms of manifestation in infinitude. The yogi in cosmic consciousness perceives that all creation, including the microcosm of his body, is a projection of the 5-fold rays of God's cosmic consciousness. The divine creator's cosmic consciousness, his pure reflected intelligence in creation as Christ or Krishna consciousness, and his active creative power as cosmic vibration are thus the very essence of all manifestations. Gold, blue, and white, the colors of the radiations of this holy trinity of God in creation, are therefore the most spiritual of all colors, white reflecting the transcendent God consciousness, blue reflecting the Christ or Krishna consciousness, and gold, or red, a transformation of gold, reflecting the radiation or energy present in the cosmos. Throughout history, man has instinctively associated white with purity and spirituality, blue with tranquil omnipresence, as in the blue sky or heavens, and gold or red with energy. The tricolored rays of the spiritual eye, through a complex transformation known to yogis, form the physical body of man, the microcosm. The golden rays of cosmic energy, for example, are strongly inherent in the vital red blood and are manifested in the electric current that flows through the nerves. The blue rays are a predominant factor in the gray matter of the brain, which provides a medium for the expression of thoughts through sensory motor activity. Just as on the universal scale, Christ consciousness, Kutastha Chaitanya, provides the medium that upholds all of nature's activities. The white rays are the predominant factor in the white matter of the brain, in which God's transcendent cosmic consciousness is insulated. The nerve tissues are cylindrical in form. If you see a diagram of the nervous system, it is like a web of projecting rays, pathways of electrical energy without which there is no life in the body. The underlying spiritual physiology relates to the projected thoughts of God. The first manifestation of God the Creator is thought, intelligence itself. When God began to think the body of man, it produced tentacles of thought. These became rays, the rays became fibers, and the fibers became nerves through which energy is conducted throughout the nervous system to the 27,000 billion bodily cells. I became aware of these various corollaries as I read a little bit of physiology. God was showing me at the same time his deeper science. It is so interesting to see the marvelous evolution of complex matter from the singular consciousness of spirit. How intricate it is, and yet so simple when you see that everything is God. It is all upheld by the power of his thought. In the creation of the body of man, the rays of the spiritual eye first formed the astral body, the rainbow-hued body of life energy that is the blueprint and enlivening power of the material body. Because the material body is a condensation of the multicolored rays of light of the life-giving astral body, color is important in your life. The point is, you are affected by color because colors are manifestations of specific vibrations. You should always try to wear and to surround yourself with colors that are harmonious to your nature. For the reasons mentioned earlier, gold, blue, and white are good for the nervous system. Of course, for variety, you should use other colors as well, but generally, it is good to have some of these particularly beneficial colors around you. You will find your nervous system will be much calmer. Though it is quite all right now and then to vary the colors you use according to how you feel harmonious with them, radical changes can affect you. You wouldn't want to paint the rooms in your home black, for example. Even foods, which are also material condensations of astral rays of life, have effects that are correlated to their color. Various kinds of natural white foods are good for the nervous system. They benefit the white matter of the brain. Berries are good for the gray matter of the brain, that is, blueberries or blackberries, which are really purple. Most fruits are gold in color, or variants of gold, such as red and orange. As gold is the color of the creative vibratory energy in matter, such fruits help the muscles, the blood, and the tissues. Goat's milk, unbleached almonds, and raisins are very good for the nervous system. But all forms of meat from higher animals, especially beef and pork, are harmful to the nervous system. They are hyperstimulating and cause aggressiveness. Avoid too much starch, especially foods made from refined flour. Eat whole grains, cottage cheese, and plenty of fruits, fruit juices, and fresh vegetables. These are important. Needless to say, alcoholic beverages and drugs destroy the nervous system. Stay away from them. A yogic drink that is very good for the nervous system is made by adding crushed rock candy and fresh lime juice to a glass of water. It should be thoroughly mixed and evenly blended so that the taste is equally sweet and sour. I have recommended this to many people with excellent results. Another beneficial practice when you are very nervous is to take a cold bath. I once told this to a newspaperman. He said, "Well, if I did that every time I was nervous, I would have to carry a bathtub with me all the time." I said, "Not necessary. Take a large piece of ice and rub it all over the body, especially over all the openings of the body. With this yoga technique, you will find that your nerves will become much calmer. Remember that the greatest healing of nervousness takes place when we attune our lives to God. The highest commandments given to man are to love God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength, and secondly, to love your neighbor as yourself. If you follow these, everything will come in its own way and in the right way. It is not enough just to be a strict moralist. Stones and goats do not break moral laws. Still, they do not know God. But when you love God deeply enough, even if you are the greatest of sinners, you will be transformed and redeemed. The great Saint Mirabai said, "To find the Divine One, the only indispensable is love." That truth touched me deeply. All the prophets observed these two foremost commandments. Loving God with all your heart means to love Him with the love that you feel for the person who is dearest to you, with the love of the mother or father for the child, or the lover for the beloved. Give that kind of unconditional love to God. Loving God with all your soul means you can truly love Him when through deep meditation you know yourself as a soul, a child of God, made in His image. Loving God with all your mind means that when you are praying, your whole attention is on Him, not distracted by restless thoughts. In meditation, think only of God. Don't let the mind wander to everything else but God. That is why yoga is important. It enables you to concentrate. When by yoga you withdraw the restless life force from the sense nerves and become interiorized in the thought of God, then you are loving Him with all of your strength. The whole of your being is concentrated in Him. Lastly, learn to love your neighbor as yourself. Remember, you are here on earth in this lifetime for just a little while. You have come here before in numerous incarnations, interacting with many different souls. Who are your real relatives? To the wise man, everyone is his relative. Everyone is his neighbor. Of course, the wise man discriminates, knowing that though the sun shines equally on the diamond and the charcoal, it is the diamond that beautifully reflects the sunlight. One should seek and associate with the highest diamond-like mentalities. Take time to find true friends. Good souls attract good souls. Live like gods, and you will attract godly friends. Live like animals on the sensual plane, and you will attract animalistic companions. Do not mix closely with those who lower your ideals and create materialistic nervousness in you, but at the same time, do not exclude anyone from your love. In addition, be not only a giver of love, but also a peacemaker, so that wherever you go, you bring harmony, calmness, and upliftment. No one wants to be around a skunk. Everyone avoids it. The nervous man, he who is always restless, irritable, and emotional, similarly repulses others. We do not want to be human skunks. We want to be like the rose, which even if crushed, exudes its sweet fragrance. Be a human rose, spreading the essence of peace wherever you go. Your life will reflect spiritual consciousness if you meditate. Since the publication of my book, Autobiography of a Yogi, everyone is asking about Kriya Yoga. That is my purpose. I didn't come to give theological abstractions, but a technique whereby those who are sincere can truly know God, not just theorize about Him. I want you all to develop on this path of self-realization and draw others to this highway of Kriya Yoga. The practice of Kriya gives the true experience of religion, which cannot be had by just talking about God. Jesus said, "Why call ye me, Lord, Lord, and do not the things which I say?" When by Kriya Yoga I open my spiritual eye, the whole world drops away from my consciousness, and God is with me. And why not? I am His child. God seeks willing hearts for the bestowal of His gifts. He is willing to give us everything, but we are not willing to make the effort to be receptive. He looks in our hearts, and if they are filled with something else, He does not come. But when you can truthfully say to Him, "Lord, there is nothing in my heart but Thee," He will come. For a while, He will play hide and seek with you. But if you are persistent, you will begin to see wonderful things happening, mysteriously, that you know come from God. In time, you will receive His clear response in the form of direct answers to your prayers or in visions of the saints. Then at last He will come to you openly. You will be able to talk to Him. You will be able to commune with Him. Nervousness will never again be able to touch you once you are permanently anchored in the realization of God's presence.